Hey guys, it's Lee Hoy. I'm here in the beautiful Galapagos Islands on another Wildside Nature Tourist photography workshop. And I am on San Cristobal Island. What a beautiful island, beautiful beach, and one of the best spots for photographing diving blue-footed boobies. So today I'm going to talk about how I got this shot. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the tips and techniques of photographing diving birds, because the blue-footed boobies are iconic here in the Galapagos Islands. We'll be photographing takeoffs after they've dove. I'll be giving you the tips, the techniques, the settings that I like to use for photographing these kind of diving birds. You may be lucky and live near a spot where you have a lot of diving birds, or you may get to travel to the Galapagos Islands with me someday and get to experience this firsthand. It's a beautiful beach, beautiful setting, having a great time out here with Wildside. Let's talk about how I got the shot.
Howdy from West Texas. I'm Lee Hoy, professional nature photographer, and this is my YouTube channel, Lee Hoy Photography. I'm an OM System Ambassador, photography workshop instructor for Wildside Nature Tours of Precision Camera and Video, and contributing author for the Journal of Wildlife Photography.
All right, guys, let's talk about some of our settings first. So to get this shot, I'm going to be living at shutter speeds of 2500 and above, which means my ISO is going to correspond to a setting that's going to make sure I can expose to the right without blowing out the highlights, particularly on the pale white underbellies and on the ventral side of the wings. I want to make sure I'm not going to blow out those details in the bird. I am going to be somewhere between f5.6 and f7.1 for most of these shots. It's, you know, a fun challenge to try to photograph diving birds, and pelicans and boobies tend to have a tail when they're flying, where when they come along, they're going to be flying level. As they come at you, then they're going to kind of bank, twist, and then dive. And that's really going to give us a good clue when we want to try to capture a shot like this. So, you know, I personally, if we look over here, let's go this way. You can see back behind me, here's the beach, and here's Cerro Bruno. Well, Cerro Bruno is going to give you a nice dark background. It's going to be green and brown. And so when we look out, let's turn this video around, okay? All right, there we go. Now, if I'm looking out here, a lot of this sky is some pretty boring ass sky. The colors are muted, you know, nothing too spectacular with some of that sky. You've got Kicker Rock way off in the distance out there. That's one of the iconic shots here in the Galapagos Islands. Some of our boats, our yacht, the Solaris, is sitting out there. That's the boat on the left. But if you look, so really, if we look at our background, setting ourselves up for success, it's right through here that we really want to be shooting. So, whoops. So right in this section, I've got the beach over here on the right, okay? The birds are generally diving somewhere out in here, okay? So what I want to get a bird that's flying from this way towards me, going to upend and then dive somewhere, giving me this beautiful background, okay? That's going to be my target zone. And the wind direction, I'm lucky, it's coming from behind me back here to my left, and it's coming in so that also when the birds take off, they're going to be taking off right at me. If I went to the other end of the beach, let's see what would happen if I were standing at the other end of the beach. So let's pan around. Okay, we're going to come around. And if we were looking this direction, I've got a little bit of a dark background, but it's pretty short, okay? I could shoot that way, but the wind direction really is in my favor for shooting the other way. So as we go back to where our target zone is, now there's not a lot of birds hunting right now. There were more out here this morning, okay? So again, this is my target zone. So I've assessed the setting. I've assessed, that's looking at the wind direction, right? That's looking at the tide. The tide's pretty high. Normally I go stand further out here to photograph the birds, but today the tide's pretty high, so I'm having to stand a little further in and shoot against a background. I've assessed my setting. Again, wind direction, wind speed, background, light. Fortunately, we've had pretty nice, soft, overcast light most of the day. That means my ISO's generally been 2500 or above to give me a shutter speed of 2500th of a second or above. So this is the setting, how I got the shot. I'm assessing backgrounds, I'm assessing wind, light quality, light direction. And then that means I've been standing right over here. Let's take a look at where I've been standing. Whoops, wrong direction. I've been standing right over in here, okay? Right on the other side of these rocks, so I could shoot that way. And again, that's what I like to talk about, setting myself up for success. Once a bird leaves the scene over here, once a bird comes this direction, I let it go unless it gets in front of Kicker Rock, way out there in the distance, because it's such an iconic spot. So this is our setting. Okay, we've talked about the settings, we've talked about the light, we talk about boobies flight style. They're gonna fly along relatively level, and then once they see that fish, they're gonna really up in themselves. And when they first spread those wings, you can get some gorgeous shots with those wings spread. And then as they dive, they're eventually gonna tuck those wings in, and they don't tend to dive straight down. They're gonna generally dive at an angle. And once you assess that angle, you're gonna wanna follow through as quick as possible. If you get behind, don't stop taking pictures, just really pick up the speed of your lens to try to get back on that bird. So those are some of the conditions, some of the settings today. You know, the tide is high, but the surf is relatively mild today. So it's given me some unique opportunities for some cool shots. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video about how I got the shot. I'm here in my hotel room in Quito, Ecuador before I fly out tonight on a red eye to go back to Austin. It's been a rough week, I'm not going to lie. I lost my bulldog unexpectedly while I was away in the Galapagos. He passed away just unexpectedly. And today I found out that my aunt's home in Ruidoso, New Mexico is more than likely completely burned away. You know, doing these videos is a lot of work, and I really enjoy it, and it brings me great joy when I see that this is helpful to you. So before I go, you know, I know many of you will share condolences, and I know many of you have been very supportive and encouraging along this journey. And this is one of those weeks where you just sit back and take an assessment of life and make me realize how grateful I am to get to do what I do, to love the outdoors, to love wildlife, night skies, all the beautiful things that we have to photograph. So, you know, I still want to maintain an attitude of gratitude because there are many people I know who would love to get to do what I do. So, but before we go, I want to share a couple of my images and go over them a little more in depth with you in terms of how I got the shot related to this situation. Because I told you earlier in the video, my actual favorite shot, I think, of a diving booby was indeed facing the other direction when the background was a little shorter. But let's hop in and take a look at this image. Well, this image is very unique in that the background still turned out beautiful. There's even some of our clients walking on the beach, evenly spaced on both sides of the bird. But what I love is the framing brought on by the rocks here at the bottom. I mean, what are the odds the bird's bill is still in that little divot? Still a fairly nice wing position, great depth of field, beautiful colors, and the timing. You know, again, I was shooting an SH2, 50 frames per second, and I'm good at picking up these birds and tracking them. And every now and then, everything just comes together. Remember, my formula for nature photography success is preparation plus skill times patience equals luck. You know, I stood in this area and photographed diving boobies for probably at least an hour and a half, if not more. And I came away with several images I loved. It can be very challenging, but very rewarding. And this is indeed probably my favorite image of the ones I captured out there that day. But let's take a look at a couple of others. Now, this shot is unique in that it's actually a 1-to-1 crop, Instagram. It also has a fairly plain, boring sky. But what it does bring is a beautiful composition in terms of the wings, the tail, the head, the feet. So I can do without a better sky. Yes, I would love a great sky behind this bird. But in some ways, perhaps the white background does provide a little more contrast with the bird to help it stand out. I went with the 1-to-1 crop in this because I felt like it's what best communicated what I wanted to share here. You know, the alignment of the wings is just absolutely perfect. The symmetry of the bird to my focal plane is perfect. And so I love this image. Yeah, again, boy, if I could change out that sky. No, I won't. I know you can. I hate sky replacements. If you share an image with me with a sky replacement, I will make fun of it. I will give it grief. That is not something that has ever been in my repertoire and will not be. So I take things as they are. That's part of the joy for me. So I love this image. Again, a nice 1-to-1 crop ratio and definitely different than some things I normally do. Now again, I talked about the wind direction and how it would help with birds taking off coming right at me. I love this image in that I put the bird at the top so that it looked like it had plenty of room to come at you. I love the eye contact. I love the leg spacing. I love the two
jets of water being propelled backwards by the feet as the booby takes off. The wing position is beautiful, nice symmetry. Notice the subject's quite a bit in the center because of that symmetry. And for me, this was one of my favorite takeoff shots of the trip. It did require, 1/2500th of a second, ISO 2500, 5.6, shooting at 1000, not cropped shot at all on this one. Well, there you have it. That's how I got the shot. I shared with you many shots today on how I got the shot, but I really felt like it would be beneficial for you to add to your nature photography repertoire on diving birds, on dealing with birds that behave like this, and some of the things you need to take into consideration when trying to capture visually compelling images of diving birds. I look forward to you joining me on my YouTube Live on the 30th. It's exciting. That's going to be my first one. Looking forward to answering all questions on system and nature photography. Again, thank you for your support. Greetings from Quito. I will be home for a little bit out in West Texas, and I'm preparing to record the Summer of Exposure for you.